Well, now to the extraordinary story of how a desperately ill father is learning to talk again with the help of his baby daughter.
Yes, Mark Ellis collapsed at work last August after a major stroke. It was just days after the birth of little Lola Rose.
Well, he's now being inspired to speak again by the one-year-old who started saying her first words. Matt Price has the story.
A new husband, a proud father. But just days after these photographs were taken, Mark Ellis from Chesterfield collapsed at work. He suffered a major stroke which badly affected his speech and left him unable to walk unaided.
Everything we know has changed completely. Everything we think, we thought your life was or going to be for the future is different. Everything's changed. We've had to adapt to everything. We've had to move house.
Doctors didn't think Mark would survive, but now the 23-year-old is learning to talk all over again, inspired by his one-year-old daughter, Lola Rose.
The speech therapist suggested that as Lola was beginning to speak, Mark to sit with Lola and copy any noises that she makes.
Mark suffered a clot in his brainstem, which controls movement and breathing. The conditions left him with locked-in syndrome. This means Mark can fully understand what people are saying and his thoughts remain the same. He's unable to talk, though, and now uses a computer to communicate. We asked him how the last 12 months had been.
An absolute hell, to be honest. I wouldn't wish this on anyone.
The family have had to move to a specially adapted bungalow. Amy's had to give up her job and is now a full-time carer for Mark, but remains strong thanks to supportive friends and family. They've been inspired by the story of Kate Allett, who suffered a similar stroke and has been featured by us before.
I saw her on Calendar while Mark was in hospital, describing her stroke and what she'd been through. And it was exactly the same as what Mark had been through and was going through. So I Facebooked her back at the beginning of the year, and she's been in touch with us ever since.
Amy believes this is the ultimate test for any relationship, but says they're determined to work through it. The family is now looking forward to a holiday of a lifetime booked for the new year.
Matt Price reporting. As you heard there, Mark's wife Amy and the whole family has been supported by Kate Allett, the Sheffield mum who suffered from locked-in syndrome after having a stroke herself. She's helped with Mark's recovery, was with us in the studio now along with the children, India and Woody. Thank you so much for coming and seeing us. What does it mean to you just watching that there, in particular the end piece there when they say they've got something to look forward to, a trip of a lifetime?
Well, it brings back memories from this year when we all went to Florida in America for our trip of a lifetime, to say thank you to our family, really, for being there. But also, watching the film, I realise, Mark has got the right attitude. There's so much fight, as has Amy. And, for me to have them on board with Fighting Strokes is enormous. I mean, it's amazing. And his advice and insight will be incredible.
You suffered your stroke 18 months ago, but as we can see tonight, you've made enormous steps in your recovery. What advice are you giving Mark and Amy?
Well, I think you have to believe you can do it. You have to believe, and you be positive in the face of all the negativeness that's out there, and just think, no, I don't want this for my life, I want something else. And I think if you have that attitude of total obsession to be back to almost how you were, I do believe, I'm no medical expert, but I do believe the power of the brain has a lot to answer for.
He's wanting to talk again, and that's with the help of Lola Rose. And it was Woody who really inspired you to talk again.
Yeah, it was, totally. I mean, Woody naively said to me in hospital on a weekend visit, Mummy, don't write my name, say my name. You
weren't moping around a bit, were you, and saying, get a move on, Mum, and get better soon? No, a bit naively doing it.
So, and I just said, all right, I'll give it a go. In my mind, I thought, I'll give it a go, and I said, Woody, to which they all got very excited and started crying, and I thought, what's wrong with you? Because they'd heard the week before I would never speak again. So, who knows what you're capable of doing.
And obviously before the stroke you were a keen runner and you're actually back running again and taking part in a 10k before Christmas.
It doesn't look pretty, I'll be honest.
But you can do it, you can do it.
I'm now running 500 metres with a few stops, and the idea is to run 1 kilometre for the Percy Pud race on the 4th of December. And they've said to me that a large proportion of their race fees, entry fees, will go towards Fighting Strokes if I do it.
India, what do you make of what your mum's done, the progress that she's making?
Oh, she's just been so good and amazing. And if I'd give Mark any advice, just to set himself goals and work really hard like my mum has done.
And now you have Fighting Strokes. It's now a charity officially.
Yeah. And
that's a good focus for you too.
Do you know what? I think it helps distract me from, you know, what Mark and I have been through has been, you know, a living hell, a living death actually. And it's been tough, and it gives me a focus, a positive way to channel my energy. And also, I just want to help other people, and I feel really strongly. And if we raise enough money, the idea is that we will fund therapies for people post-hospital, post-discharge, in specialist rehab centres around the country, but especially in Sheffield. And, you know, I feel better about myself, giving back.
Well, we wish you all the very best. Thank you so much for all of you for coming and seeing us. And of course, we wish the best to Mark and his family too. Thank you.
Thank you.